WaveAct, the web-free software company that understands what you want.
Hi everyone and welcome at WaveAct. Today with Adam Karren. He is currently CPO at Exchange.art, and in today's episode we will be talking about NFTs, royalties, marketplaces, and so many more things. So hi Adam, thanks for being here tonight.
How are you doing? Great to be here.
Awesome, really cool that you have taken time to do this tonight. So I will give you the chance now to quickly introduce yourself, speak a bit about yourself, what you're doing actually at Exchange.art, and then we jump right into it.
Yeah, so I'm one of the founders of Exchange.art and CodeCanvas. Exchange.art is the leading one-on-one and editions marketplace on Solana, and CodeCanvas is the leading and only long-form generative art marketplace on Solana. So really excited. My role at both these companies is the chief product officer, and it's been an amazing journey over the past about 17 months.
Very cool. So what was the inspiration behind, okay, let's get the idea of creating a marketplace?
Yeah, well, you know, the story of Exchange.art really started, I mean, even before Exchange.art as a brand was formed. Myself, Alex, Andre, Tibi, and Horia started the first open NFT marketplace on Solana back July 2021. And it went live. It was called Digital Eyes at the time. We did about 150 million GMV in volume in about 45 days. And then we left that for various reasons to start Exchange.art. And originally it was going to be a collectibles market as well. And so that launched October 31st. And then from October 31st, 2021 to about early mid-December 2021, we realized that the collectible market was very saturated, and we decided that the best path to go down was to go after an untapped market. So we said, okay, we're going to pivot Exchange.art's brand and focus exclusively on the one-of-one art market. And from there, we had a buy now smart contract. We rolled out offers. We rolled out an auction contract. Experienced a ton of growth. Took a commanding market position lead. In July 2022, we rolled out editions. This was very controversial because on Ethereum, one, you had gated marketplaces at the time, and two, you only had one-of-one art marketplaces, and they didn't let editions on the platform. So we kind of broke two rules that were present on Ethereum. We said we're going to allow all original artists to come onto our platform, and we're going to let the market determine who's great. But we're going to provide everybody the ability to succeed. And then two, we said, you know what? Why not if an artist wants to do a one-of-one drop, great. If they want to do an edition drop, great. Let's let them decide how they want to operate. And so we rolled out that as well. And this is just how Exchange.art has always been. It's always gone against the grain. It's always trying to figure out ways to help creators own their business.
That's a very cool philosophy to act like, okay, you're the creator and you are in charge of that, and either way do what you want with it. So how did the decision making lead to choosing Solana as the platform? What thoughts?
I mean, there's all of us kind of converge together on Solana in different ways, but I think the reason why builders are coming to Solana, I think that's the broader question, is why do builders continue to come to Solana? I mean, there's over 850 projects that were in the Grizzlython that just happened. The reason why they keep coming to Solana is because the UX of the network is simple, and it's already complex enough to explain people crypto. For them to have to deal with L1s, L2s, I'm hearing L3s and 4s now, it's too much, right? At the end of the day, a user being able to get an L1 wallet and being able to operate similarly to how they operated in Web 2 is what's going to create the vehicle for mass adoption. And that's ultimately what we're after. And when it comes to network stability, things like this, I mean, we're operating in bleeding edge you get used to operating in uncomfortable situations if you want to operate in bleeding edge technology. And what I would say this on that front, Solana's done an amazing job at doing extraordinarily innovative engineering to get to a stable platform. There's kind of two ways to look at reliability. There's reliability through capacity, and then there's reliability through better software delivery. The reliability through capacity, as Massari actually pointed out in their independent research, has done quite well. Quick, which is spam filtering, and local fee markets, which have never been done on the blockchain before. Ethereum has global fee markets. Have 100% improved capacity of the chain. Now, software reliability, things like that, software delivery reliability, those are things that they are working out. Just like they had a plan to fix the capacity problems, they have a plan to fix to improve software delivery. And again, that's what I look for when I'm a builder is like, okay, there's going to be problems. How do they act when the problems come? Do they have the right plan to address them? And with FireDancer coming online, hopefully into 2023, early 2024, the issues that we experienced in February wouldn't have been an issue because you would have had a multi-client ecosystem, much like what ETH has today. So, one of the things I always tell my friends when I started on ETH, by the way, is, keep giving the feedback, because that feedback is what is pushing Solana forward at the pace that it's operating. It's that push to decentralization. Over 3,000 nodes, as an example, right? From 500 in 2021, something very low. Like it's that push to decentralization that Solana is doing. And a lot of it is on the roadmap, and a lot of it is being pushed forward through the feedback that it's getting both internally within the community and externally in other chains.
So you're not being afraid of Solana being like, you don't have to reach out far, like go on LinkedIn and read some voices. There are a lot of people who assume that, okay, Solana has been hacked a lot, there are a lot of vulnerabilities in the past, so you're not afraid of that this noise kind of gets traction.
Point number one, Solana has never been hacked.
No, not Solana, yeah.
Yeah, Solana has actually never been hacked. In terms of like, the concerns that I had were greater 9 months ago than they are today, by a lot, by orders of magnitude. Solana, again, the core engineers have done just a Herculean effort in terms of getting the network to where it is today. It's operating where, there's a lot of people said that I can scale, but there's only one chain that has actually scaled and done it with the level of decentralization that it has. And they've made a ton of progress on that front. So no, I'm not worried on that front. I think the Solana Labs has done an extraordinary job. I think the open source community has done an extraordinary job. And I'm really, really looking forward to the innovations that come on chain over the next 12 months. They are moving fast, and when you move fast, you can break things on occasion. And so I think they're balancing now the speed based on the adoption they have, with reliability. And again, when we talk about 2022, they had a 99.6% uptime. If you were to hear the rhetoric that people would say, you would assume that they were down like 90% of the year. But that's not actually the case. What we're arguing is 0.4%.
Yeah.
And I think it needs to be 100, just to be clear. And it will get to 100. For the purposes of art, though, it's very reliable chain. 99.6% is better than most, like, Web 2 websites.
Definitely, yeah. And it's remarkable. The speed is remarkable in.
It's remarkable.
Yeah. So I'm not afraid either. It's just that these news kept popping up a lot, and many people have that opinion. So it's great to have an opinion from your side. So let's talk about royalties. Maybe really start from a basic. There are a lot of people out there who may know what a marketplace is. They may have been there doing that. Could you give us a formal example of what a royalty is for an art creator that might want to, I don't know, add his stuff onto Exchange.art or any other marketplace?
Yeah. So the easiest way to put it is, when you are putting a piece of artwork on chain, you are putting into the data that goes on chain, so the metadata, a royalty. And that royalty across all blockchains was basically optional for the marketplaces to enforce. The social construct would say, yes, you should enforce it. And of course, as a marketplace, we do. I think, like, you know, that's at a base level, an optional royalty basically in the metadata, and it's the marketplace's decision to enforce it. And Exchange.art, in many, actually all of the one-of-one and edition marketplaces across all blockchains do enforce it. And this is where it gets really fascinating. So what people are realizing is that there's actually a very big difference between digital collectibles and digital artwork. The way they're sold, the relationships that are formed, you don't see a lot of royalty aversion from one-of-one art. And the reason why is because there's a deep relationship that exists between the collector and the artist. And it's not the same kind of relationship you see with digital collectibles and the speculation that comes alongside the digital collectibles. So I think that's one thing. That's really important. That's one of the reasons why you see the social pact actually being upheld, is based on how people buy art and the deep relationships they form with a one-of-one artist directly. It's bad form to, like, say you're friends with somebody and then try to screw them. The reason why, like, royalties are important is it not just about, like, today, but also in the future when you're no longer here. So a lot of these artists, you know, they have foundations. This is a way where those foundations could be supporting themselves by having those royalties. Now, obviously, not every artist will benefit to the degree that, like, the next Jackson Pollock will. It is something that is, you know, kind of a spectrum. But there are artists that are benefiting greatly from those royalties, whether it's X Copy on Ethereum or John Lee on Solana. These artists are making tens of thousands of dollars in royalties, and it will only increase in the future as they become more successful. So, you know, when you think about art lives on well beyond us, you know, one of the things that helps that art live on well beyond us is foundations that are formed on behalf of the artist. And those foundations have to have some kind of cash flow coming inbound. Royalties absolutely help with that. And I think they're very, very important. And they're also helpful for, if you're a collector, paying that royalty means that there's another income stream for that artist, which means they have to produce less supply onto the market. There's a benefit, if you're a buyer, to paying that royalty.
Yeah, and you have to live off something. So how does Exchange.art handle the royalties internally? Because there were
so we respect we read the data on chain and respect it. And we also had back October 2022, we had developed a royalty protection solution specifically for editions. There wasn't something on the market. We partnered with Cardinal Labs, which is another protocol, and we had rolled that out. For us, you know, we're always looking for new solutions. There's another one called programmatic NFTs. Code Canvas, the long-form generative art marketplace, has actually implemented this. It only currently works for one-of-ones. It doesn't work for editions. So we wouldn't make that change on Exchange.art until, in fact, the solution matured quite substantially. But what it does is it allows you to have an immutable NFT, the core NFTs. Think about it like the royalties, the image, all that stuff is immutable. But then you're able to put a wrapper around it. And that wrapper is what will, like, you could do a deny list, an allow list, a lot of different custom, actually very creative things. You can even choose to make it to where you only can sell it on Tuesday if you want it, right? Like, there's a lot of, like, very custom things that you could do creatively as artists. And artists like games. Artists like, that's part of the art, right? The art and how you sell the art is the art in a lot of ways. And so there's just a lot of really interesting things you can do with it. It's very, very new. But, you know, ultimately what I've always found very important is that, for example, on Exchange.art, when an edition is royalty protected, the buyer knows exactly the terms of agreement that they are getting into. I think it's very important that the seller knows what they're getting into and the buyer knows what they're getting into.
Yeah.
And that's, as a marketplace, that's what we're trying to do. And so we're very, very transparent on those details. And if somebody doesn't want to buy it because they don't want it royalty, they don't have to buy it. That's the beauty of a free market, right? Artists have their power, and the collector has their power. They don't have to purchase something that don't align with whatever their ethos are. But haven't seen any kind of pushback on that, to be honest with you. And especially with Code Canvas, we have all the major marketplaces there that respect royalty. So nobody feels trapped because they can go anywhere they want to go. It just means that on those marketplaces, you have to pay the royalties. So, ultimately, this is a question: if you buy something, do you believe that you should have to agree to the terms of what you're buying? And whether it's a Tesla with autopilot or a John Deere tractor, right? All of these things come with terms of agreement, right? They all come. Here's what you're allowed to do. Here's what you're not allowed to do. If you buy something, you're agreeing to those terms. You don't get to say, oh, well, it's not even a rut, right? This is an artist. You're buying art from an artist, right? It's not like a business you're buying into, right? So, I think transparency is important. Creating this culture in the community, it's something that we really focus on, is articulating why it's a good thing to pay the royalties. We spend a lot of time with collectors on that. And so, on balance, we've had overwhelming success on that front. Versus on the collectible side, it's definitely hit or miss.
Yeah, and I love the idea of having that transparency. What is your opinion about OpenSea's trying to enforce latest changes I guess it was in the end of 2022, where they trying to enforce people to use everything on OpenSea rooted into their smart contract?
Yeah, that's our edition contract initially, which so the protection right now is based on that, and then we were able to get partners to be able to adopt it, and then you're able to trade on multiple places. But at the beginning, it locked you in. I would prefer a more robust solution, but when we had created it, right, we were just trying to get something in the market because there was so much fear that was present. So we took, I would say, a good step forward and continue to take good step forwards on that. But I don't think you should lock people into your marketplace. I think ultimately it's not the marketplace's call; it should be the creator's call. Whatever, if again, it's this is what I mean. Creator sovereignty is all about letting the creators have control, and then you as a buyer can choose if that's good enough for you, right? If you don't want that, don't buy it. But I think ultimately, as a marketplace, our goal is to empower the creators and give them the tools so that they can make the decision.
Definitely, yeah. Fully on your side on that. So let's talk about key challenges you had when doing basically the stuff at Exchange.art. What were some of the major challenges you have faced because there are different and other marketplaces out there, and as you said, we just of course you want to get something going and get something live and get some feedback in. So how would you say was that?
Well, as a marketplace on Solana, we've definitely experienced a substantial amount of I guess you could call them headwinds. And despite of that, we've been able to now, from a monthly GMV perspective in US dollars, because I want to compare apples to apples, we do about 40% of super rares volume. We do about 55% of foundations volume. That's with a currency that is about 85 times less per coin. Or 85x less, not 85%, 85x less. And so, this is the power of a network that has minimal friction. People are more likely to transact. Also, the currency isn't deflationary, which means that users are less likely to sit on it. And that's important as a product and service. How we've approached this bear market is really, really focusing on the user experience and really, really focusing on supply side growth. Our strength as a marketplace is being open inclusive. It's not picking the winners. And that served us really, really well. We have over 14,000 artists now on the platform. We have well over 36,000 collector accounts, meaning an account is something is like one collector can have multiple wallets tied to their account. So these are not wallets; these are actually collectors accounts. So we've been able to grow month over month, focusing on education, artist recruitment, word of mouth from other artists, and that had immense success at doing so. Continuing to focus on how do we provide the best possible experience for creators, both for the entry-level artists, but also complex configurations for the more experienced. One of the things that I think people don't appreciate about the difference between Ethereum and Solana is the underlying UX around sovereignty. So on Ethereum, you have to deploy your own manifold contract in order to have sovereignty. On Solana, you don't. You can operate from a shared contract and have sovereignty at the token level, which means that you can come to our site, mint on our site, have full sovereignty. I can do nothing to the token. And that's a lot easier to onboard somebody into Web3 than you have to go to Manifold, then you got to go over here, then you got to go over here. It's very, very disjointed. And at the end of the day, like, yeah, you'll have some people that are willing to go through that, but the vast majority of society won't.
No, and this is the way where it should be heading to, reducing these UX pitfalls. Exactly, yeah.
It's heading the opposite way.
Yeah.
More fragmentation. So, like, you know, this is, as a builder, these are important factors, right? Because ultimately what I'm optimizing for is not a specific chain. It's for mass adoption. And I think Solana is that chain that can really propel us to mass adoption. And I think Ethereum, for what it's worth, will be around and will be fine. But I'm focused on a broader vision about enabling all creators to make a living pursuing their creative passion.
Very cool, yeah. Very, very cool. Now I think Ethereum, of course, will. There's no discussion about that. Solana, yes. I think it will be fine. It's just that we're still that early, and yeah, most people say, look at what we've got. We've got L1, L2 now, L3s. We've got zero knowledge, CK things coming up. I still think it is very, very early, and these UX pitfalls, they have to be tackled. So
yeah, I mean, like the big challenge is, okay, you've got a new user. What do they use if you're on the Ethereum side? I can really simply say they use a Solana wallet, and they can operate, 60,000 TPS, even more with Fire Dancer. When that comes on, like, I don't need to worry about an L2. We're nowhere near reaching capacity for an L2. But because once you have an L2, then there's all these questions, right? About what token do I need to use? What wallet do I need to use? How do I have the bridging risk? There's an interesting, it's really an interesting topic, because, like, I do think you should actually count the L2 users as L1 users, right? But alongside that, you also have to count the uptime of those L2s. Right? Because ultimately, if I can't access the L2, then I can't access the underlying security. Because I can't sell the token, because even with ZK EVM, it's just a pointer, right? And ultimately, you still have to use the Polygon wallet to buy it, right? So if Polygon goes down, then ETH is down in reality for that user. Like, there's no disconnect, right? Because Ethereum at scale requires L2s, L3s, L4s, etc. So it really is an interesting, I'm tracking it very closely, and I hope they can figure it out. But it definitely adds a lot of complexity to onboarding new people. And that's really all I'm focused on. If Ethereum fixes it out, I'll be the first person to come back and say hi. For me, I really want a better future for these creators. And whatever chain can provide that, I'm willing to have that conversation.
I love that idea, really. This is what it should be about. Now, maybe let's jump a bit further to legal and regulatory discussions. What does it take to get live with a marketplace in terms of legal and regulatory problems that may arise? Because there's a lot under the hood, right?
I mean, for us, the good thing about art is it's not security. and it's never been a security. And there's less regulatory problems that exist around fine art than, let's say, some of the other assets that are out there. So for us, we're a UK-based company, just a UK LTD legal structure, and I think whenever you're starting a marketplace, you got to think about the terms of service, the privacy policies, and kind of the information that you're tracking, and transparently provide that to the users. But the good thing about a fine art marketplace is you don't have the same kind of let's call it regulatory risks that exists with an OpenSea.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot more aspects that can potentially be securities on that front. We don't have that issue on our side of the business.
So maybe you could shine a light a bit more on the royalty protection standard you've mentioned before, and what it takes to really protect royalties on this platform. Yeah,
I mean, they're basically the way it works is that marketplaces. So for the royalty protection solution that we have on Exchange.art today, it basically whitelists certain marketplaces, I mean that's basically how it works. A marketplace that wants to work with us, they guarantee the royalties, and then the asset is tradable on that marketplace.
All right. Okay, so there's nothing more complexity added. That's basically it.
That's basically it. And then for something like the programmatic NFT standard, it's just a little bit more extensible. I would consider it like an evolution.
Definitely, yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of really exciting work on this front. I think Solana definitely is leading the way. They're ahead of all the blockchains on this front. I could speak, again, with Code Canvas, programmatic NFTs are already in production. They're trading, they're fine, people are buying them. It's a new asset class that's basically been created on Solana. So very, very excited about the potential on that front. But yeah, there are speculators that are upset about it.
There will always be.
They want to be able to get as much money as they can per trade, and for me, that's not the audience that I'm catering to.
Yeah,
I'm catering to the collector audience. It's a very, very different type of person.
Very cool, yeah. So how do you or your team cope with the current situation, the current market situation? How do you cope with that?
We launched like at the Pico top, pretty much. Like right after the Pico top, we launched Exchange.art. And so if you're looking at charts like October 31st, 2021, and then it was just down only from there. The down only, I think, started on 26. So that's kind of the story of Exchange.art. We've had to constantly grow the market and just to stay above like 1 million GMV. Because again, the currency is dropping 97% from the top. Because it went all the way down from like $2.60 to $8.
Yeah.
Or actually even lower than that, I think, at one point in the intraday. And you just have to keep growing the market and pushing forward on innovation. At this point in time, Exchange.art's been able to really consolidate the market. Our main competitor, unfortunately, had to close down shop. And so we've been really, really focused on making sure those creators have a home. So they've imported their provenance from chain, so that it's visible on our marketplace. Because we don't auto-index artists. If they want to sell with us, we'd love to have them, but we don't force anybody to sell with us. This is a very big difference from this is a big delta from how the collectible markets work. All right, everything is force indexed. And that's how they work. For us, we have a very different experience. The buy flow is very, very different, right? When you're talking about a collector, when they want to list something, that's great that they want to list something, but guess where it shows up? It shows up on the artist page. The artist is the one that actually advertises that there's a new secondary listing. So you have to have some buy-in from the artist that want to sell there, or it just doesn't work. You can force index everything under the world. It doesn't mean that the liquidity is going to come to you. So we have a really, really close relationship with the artists. They're the fuel for the marketplace. And that's one of the things that's helped us get through the bear market, is just constantly building with the individual creator, and their success has been our success. It's really, really a very aligned, kind of North Star. Whereas if you think about like Facebook and Twitter and these these social media sites, they capture 100% of the benefit and they give nothing back to the creator. And so we're driving towards a different ethos.
And I really like that. And what I kind of admire is that whenever you're talking about a thing, you put the creator kind of at first place. This is something. So I will happily follow the platform for a couple of months now and see where it goes. So you have an optimistic. You're being optimistic for the rest of the year, or would you say it's boggling again because Ethereum and Bitcoin kind of had a rise in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah. No, I mean I'm definitely optimistic. I think the way that NFTs work in general is they go through cycles, right? Like it's not. They go up, they go down at least like 6 times in a given year. Yeah. And so, with NFTs, I have a very, very bullish outlook on them. I think, the use cases associated with NFTs are only going to grow with time. Yeah, right now it's digital collectibles and digital artwork, but I envision more use cases around ticketing. I don't know if you've heard about compressed NFTs, but the ability to give 7 billion people an NFT for $10,000 is pretty amazing. And that's just shows you, because a lot of these ideas require scale. And if you think about what it would cost to print 7 billion tickets, it would be more than $10,000.
Definitely.
So there are some serious advantages to NFTs when you start thinking about scale. And right now, Solana is the only chain that can do that. And so this is kind of the innovation you're seeing at the protocol level, you're seeing at the network layer. All the layers are innovating relentlessly because they have to, right? The thing about Solana that people don't realize is that we don't get to dangle liquidity to win. We have to dangle cost reduction. We have to dangle things like user experiences in order to win, and that's really powerful. That creates the innovation that you need in order to get mass adoption. That's
Absolutely.
What powers us through this. We don't have a choice but to innovate.
but that's good. That's how things should evolve, I think. If there's only one platform rising to the top, yeah. So where do you see Exchange.art in the next couple of years? Are there innovations planned, or do you think we're at a level now where things are pretty solid? What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of there's things I can say, there's things I can't say. I think for us, there's opportunities to really help the artist further through the life cycle. So what I mean by that is a lot of artists that are starting out, they started with digital, but some have are interested in selling more physicals. So being able to help the artist and being able to sell digital and physical work, and being able to enable the provenance layer to be adjusted across both. Obviously, the blockchain makes it very easy with digital. There's some nuances with physical, but there's an extraordinary amount of fraud in the physical world, right? 30% of our work gets sold as fraud. So the provenance layer that works today is pretty bad. And I mean, just based on that evidence, it's not doing a great job. So we think there's a really big opportunity on that long term, but you have to grow with the market, right? So a lot of people that buy physical art are going to be people that are probably moving into homes, and the audience for crypto is still rather young. And so I think over the next 3 to 5 years, that's a real market opportunity at scale that makes sense, and we'll definitely be exploring that. And for us, we want to be where our artists want us to be. If they want us to go multi-chain, we'll go multi-chain. Ultimately, we've always built to what our users' needs are, and that's what drives the roadmap.
So, are you considering multi-chain currently?
Not in the near term.
Okay.
maybe in the 1 to 3 year range.
All right. Yeah. Hey, Adam, massive
But
thanks.
there's so much. I mean, the thing is, there's so much we have to build, and when you go multi-chain, there's a lot of challenges associated with that. These token standards themselves are still evolving, and so you really want to for us, it's about building the core user experience within Solana, and then when we feel like we've reached a good point, then yeah, I think exploring multi-chain for growth would make sense, but I don't think we're anywhere near that.
Just having a solid foundation first. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to really build a solid foundation.
All right. Yeah. Hey, Adam, thanks a lot for taking part tonight. It was a real pleasure, and I think you have won a fan tonight. So I'll definitely check it out. And yeah, so massive thanks again, and let's stay in contact.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
WaveAct, the web-free software company that understands what you want.